Hi everyone and welcome to Studio Jake. I of course am your host Jacob Airy. Thank you for joining me today on my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture from film to celebrity news to anime to so much more. I would really appreciate it if you would like this video, leave me a comment, share it out all over the land, and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. I'm over 840, so I'm on track to get there. I would really appreciate it. All of you rock. All right, diving right into the topic. So, Disney CEO Bob Iger famously made his big return. He had previously retired as the CEO of Disney, and Bob Chapek took over. Chapek was quickly made to be a fall guy, despite him trying to fix all of Iger's mistakes, which more on that later. But Bob Iger made a return. He was only supposed to stay through 2024, but credit where credit is due, Clownfish TV, who I also write for on their website, in full disclosure. But, and I'm not saying this to, kiss their boots or whatever, but they did predict that Bob Iger would get some sort of contract extension. This would not just be a temporary thing where he would oversee Disney through these difficult times. And they were right. He was only supposed to stay till the end of this year, but he got extended to 2026. And Midnight's Edge had a really interesting take on this. And I agree, which I agree with, by the way. They did a video where they talked about Iger came back, and now it's about fixing his legacy, because when he left, Disney was starting to get into a rough spot, but it was kind of hadn't quite started cascading yet. So Bob Iger, after Mike Eisner retired, um, which, by the way, Mike Eisner was an excellent CEO for Disney. He led the Disney Renaissance. The problem was he just stayed for too long. Well, same thing happened to Bob Iger. So Bob Iger comes along and he pumps a whole bunch of money into Pixar. He has Disney Animation sort of just become Pixar, basically. So no more, 2D animated films. It's all Pixar style. Don't even know why they're different anymore. And then he acquires Marvel Entertainment. He acquires Lucasfilm. He oversees the purchase of the entertainment division of Fox, which was 20th Century Fox. Since then, Fox has started a new entertainment division. I believe it's called Fox Entertainment, creatively titled. So he writes a book. He steps aside because everyone kind of knows he was gearing up for some sort of political campaign. There was speculation whether it would be for presidential or governor of California or senator, but those elections themselves kind of halted that progress. What also started to halt the progress was problems started to pop up at Disney. So, for one thing, they chased away John Lasseter. He got involved in a Me Too scandal, which was basically about him hugging a person. It was totally ridiculous and silly. And they chased him out and they put in some puppet, basically. And then they used the content that they got from 20th Century Fox, all those films and TV shows, to pump up Disney Plus to give it more content. The problem was 20th Century Fox wasn't specifically a family-based company. They had family stuff like Blue Sky Entertainment, but they weren't specifically family companies. So now you've got all these IPs like Die Hard, like Avatar, and Disney didn't know what to do with them. Now, eventually, they did decide to move Avatar to Disney Plus. Well, this also is, but now they don't know what to do with these other properties. So you also have Hulu. They have a stake in Hulu, but they own money to Comcast, which owns NBC, and NBC is distracted with problems with their own streaming service, Peacock. But Bob Iger thought that acquiring Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century Fox would make them win, because now with all these three companies, now they can really pump up. But a lot of these movies, especially Marvel early on, weren't what you would call family friendly. Now they were fine for teenagers and their parents, I guess. But you can't take a little kid to see Captain America Winter Soldier, right? As much as I love that movie, it's not a knock on the film, but it is an adult oriented story. It's just how it is. It's very mature. It's the themes are going to go over their heads, and they're finding that out pretty quickly, right? And that's why I believe they started dumbing down Marvel properties like with Ant-Man and even Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor. That's why they dumbed down some of the titles from that. Now, Bob Iger is back, and even though the trades sort of were able to label Bob Chapek and went along with Iger being the fall guy, they're kind of starting to turn on Iger because he comes in. They're seeing financial losses from the box office. This summer box office was abysmal for Disney. It was one of the worst box office return for Disney of all time, right? Elemental failed. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania failed. It was Guardians of the Galaxy was the only one that made money, and it didn't make that much money. Disney Plus subscriptions are down. And so and then now there's the writer's strike, so this is halting productions. There's an actor strike. This is halting productions. It is an incredibly awkward time. So Bob Iger, I really feel like he came back at the worst time, right? Because he wants to right the ship. He wants to reclaim his legacy. So what does he do? He goes and he fires the very people he put in power, right? He fires Victoria Alizano. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but she was the number 2 person at Marvel. She was the one who was really pushing like the race and gender swaps for a lot of these Marvel characters. He fires her. He fired their chief diversity officer. There's again more rumors that it's Kathleen Kennedy's final days. I'll believe it when I see that. At that point, the rumors of that swirling. So I remember when Bob Chapek was in power, there were rumors that he was going to try to lure John Lasseter back because Pixar is failing. They haven't. Their last good movie was probably Soul and Onward. I think maybe Luca was okay, but it just wasn't blow me away amazing. But Lightyear was an epic failure. There was no reason that movie shouldn't have been number 1 at the box office, but no, they had to put all kinds of woke ideology in there, political correctness. They had to change the identity of Zurg, Buzz Lightyear's worst enemy. All kinds of nonsense, basically. And what made Iger come back is, I agree with Midnight's Edge, is that I think I've said this a couple of times. Apology for repeating myself. I'm just trying to emphasize. He wants to rebuild his legacy. And that could have some positive effects for Disney. For one thing, the firings he's made have been really smart. I hope that they continue. The issue, though, is who is going to take his place? He's firing all the people who are heir apparents to the throne. And I don't know, who they're going to put it into place. There's some rumors going around that Disney is considering being bought out by Apple. Right now, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, and Elon Musk are the only 3 people on the planet outside of some oil baron, out at sea or in Asia or the Middle East, can afford to purchase Disney. It's just a matter of fact. And I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see more firings. We're going to see scaled back Disney Plus content. And I think during these strikes that are going on, I think we're going to see more shows like Renovation pop up. We're going to see more emphasis on classic stuff. We might even see animations that we thought were lost or haven't been released. Maybe I shouldn't say lost, like lost media, but what I mean is animations that are very rare. They're going to pop up. We're going to see a lot of Disney Channel original movies and TV shows that haven't been released. We'll probably see reruns of the Disney games on Disney Plus, whatever the case may be. I think that Bob Iger returning, it could possibly be a good thing with that. Because all this classic content is gonna remind the audiences of why they like Disney. Now, hopefully, the next person on the chopping block at at Disney is Leslie Headland. Imagine that, giving Harvey Weinstein's assistant a job as a showrunner on Star Wars. God, what moronic decision was that? Anyway, hopefully Kathleen Kennedy, but again, I'll believe that when I see it. But I think what we're gonna Bob Iger in these last 2 years, he's going to just be doing cleanup, and then he's going to release one big all or nothing film that is going to feel like classic Disney. It could be live action, it could be Disney, it could be Marvel, it could be Pixar. Heck, they might even do one under the 20th century label. But they're going to, I think we're going to see like an all or nothing, roll the dice sort of movie come out during Iger's tenure. It was supposed to be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment on whether the movie is good or bad, but I will say the box office returns speak to how audience-wise it is doing poorly. Critically, again, this is a rare thing where the audience and the critics are lining up. I tend to agree more with the audience scores. Sometimes that's not true. There's always exceptions to the rules, but I think we're going to see Iger try to shift back to more of an Eisner position, where he's going to do a lot of stuff because they released the first look of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs today, and it doesn't look like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It looks like Snow White and her short friends. There's one dwarf on the cast, and the rest, and they've race swapped some, they've gender swapped some. Why? That totally destroys the purpose of what made Snow White great. And hopefully, as stuff gets cut, Bob Iger will realize what's going on, and moving forward, we will see sort of a tonal shift, because one of the things he does need to correct is the outright animosity that filmmakers, that actors have shown toward the audience. This is true of the trades. Now remember, Disney owns a part of the mainstream media. They own ABC, which does ABC News, as well as its numerous spin-offs and television shows. So they have an edge within the mainstream media. So don't think for 1 second that Disney is going to do this thing where the media will treat it fairly. Of course not. Eisner writes checks to the right politicians. He donates to the right charities. Trust me, he would never donate to live action, right? All of them are gonna go to some politically left-leaning commie charity that doesn't do anything, right? That's what's going to happen. Hopefully, we'll see a shift in content, but I'm not banking on it. I'm just saying that this is a possibility. The negative side is even with these firings, it's just going to be business as usual. He's going to become a tyrant, and he's going to rule that place with an iron fist, and we're going to see a lot of firings, but no real action to correct the course. So as for who should take over for him, they really just need to find a stranger, someone who maybe isn't even a part of the entertainment industry. They need to bring on someone who's about the numbers, who will bring in actually talented people to recreate these things. And who knows? I've heard there is some speculation that Disney is going to not sell, because there were rumors that they were going to sell Lucasfilm as a whole. But I don't know if that's totally true. I did talk about it on a previous video. It's certainly possible, but what I think is more likely is this other rumor, which is they're going to sell off specific franchises. So they're going to sell off Willow from Lucasfilm and Disney proper. They're going to sell off Die Hard. They're going to sell off Avatar. They're going to sell off Alita Battle Angel. A bunch of, more specifically, the stuff that they acquired from Fox. But they're going to hang on to Star Wars, to Indiana Jones, to Marvel, things like that. And I think that is the more reasonable thing, because they need to do something. Because right now, only Paramount is making any kind of money. Sony, I guess you could say, is a little bit. But and indie films, By the way, I have a good friend named Paul Rowland. He directed a movie called Exemplum. It's for free here on YouTube. Check that out if you're tired of the Hollywood zeitgeist. It's not a family film. It's definitely for mom and dad, but you should check that out. It's a very compelling thriller. I wrote a review of it on my website, StudioJakeMedia.com. As for Disney, I kind of laid out a more positive way that Iger's extension could help. Now, there's a lot of negatives, but a lot of other commentators are talking about that. So I thought I wanted to, do the glass is half full type perspective. But I'm under no delusion. I'm not a fan of Iger's. I think he mismanaged Disney colossally. But who knows? Maybe he has learned from his mistakes. But you know, I will admit, even with this positive sort of perspective I had, I know that is a slim possibility. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment, tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to Studio Jake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.